Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today will be no different. Today, we're going to talk about the 7 herbs you must have in your medicine cabinet in your kitchen. Okay. Now, it goes back to that old saying, make food thy medicine and medicine thy food. That's hugely important. We have to start with that, because it's important, because most people look at medicine as a drug or a pharmaceutical today, instead of looking at it as their food. Now, our ancestors were very aware of this. And if you look at our ancestors up until the early 1900s, we lived by this principle. So this whole idea of pharmaceuticals and drugs as medicine is a very new concept to us. And when you look at the timeline of human existence. And so what I always tell people is that, we have a very, very misunderstood and misconstrued idea of what is food, okay? How we define food today versus what is actual food based upon nature is very different, okay? Now, let me give you just an example. If you were to go into your kitchen right now, check your refrigerator, check your pantry, check your freezer. Take a look at the food in your refrigerator, pantry, and your freezer. What I want you to do is just take a look and ask yourself, am I feeding myself medicine or am I giving myself poison? Okay, and the best way to kind of sort of define that line between medicine and poison is this. If it's tapped into a divine source, if it comes from a divine source, okay, it's untainted by man's process, then that is divine food, okay? Now, I bet if you were to go look in your refrigerator, in your pantry, for the vast majority of you, and back in the days, even myself, you would find the vast majority of the food there, quote unquote, is in a box, bag, jar, can, etc., okay? And much of the ingredients, when you look at the ingredient list, most of you can't pronounce, you don't know what it is, and you wouldn't be able to explain how it affects your body. Okay, so in my opinion and in my definition of food, that is poison. Okay, anything that goes into our system should be nourishment, should be for energy, should be for building our immune system. It should be to tap us into a divine source, because that's what food is. Just think about it from a perspective like this. The mango tree was created by nature millions of years ago, okay? And it probably started with one tree, one seed, okay? And from that, now we have billions of them on the faces of the earth. And we can say this for a number of foods out there, right? But through that seed process, we've been able to replenish, restore, travel with food, put it on different continents, and essentially create a supermarket out in nature, okay? And that started from one seed. That is the divine nature of food. That's true food. Now, let me give you sort of a biblical definition of what food is. It's Revelations 22:1-2, okay? On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, okay? Yielding fruit each month, okay? And the leaves of those trees were to be used for the healing of the nation, okay? So read that for yourself. Doesn't matter if you're religious or not, but it's important to know how our ancestors looked at not only food, but how they looked at healing too. The leaves were to be used for the healing of the nation, okay? And think about that. All right, so it said on both sides of the river stood the tree of life that gives life, and it bare 12 crops of fruit. 12 is a very sacred number, okay? And it yielded fruit every month, okay? Now think about this. It yielded fruit. It didn't say meat. It didn't say dairy. It didn't say, a box of Cheerios. It didn't say High C or Gatorade. It didn't say any of that. So it told you what the food was, and then where the food was coming from, off of the tree. So the tree was birthing the fruit, yielding the crop, okay? And then it also told you that the leaves on the tree, and when you think about herbs for a minute. Herbs are typically leaves, Okay, the leaves were to be used for the healing of the nation. Now I want you to think about this to drive the point home even further. Okay, again, I'm using biblical quotes. Doesn't matter if you're religious or not. It's important that you know and understand this is our ancestors' perspective on food. Okay, and it said, "Behold, I give you every seed-bearing tree on the face of the earth." Okay, and the tree that has fruit and fruit that has seed, this shall be your food. Okay, so the fruit is your food, but that fruit must have seed. Now, as you guys know from previous videos, I own a tropical fruit farm. Okay, why would I own a tropical fruit farm? Well, human existence began around the equator. Okay, and guess what? The only place that tropical fruits grow primarily are around the equator, naturally. Okay, so with that being said, it means that around the equator of Earth, that's where the sun is always concentrated the most. Okay, so this is sunfire food. This is food cooked by the sun, raised out of the darkness, out of the soil. Okay, so you're not only getting solar energy from the sun, but you're getting some of the best soil in the world because it's around the equator. And the equator is going to have places like Mexico, the Caribbean, Africa, Southeast Asia, okay, places like that, where you're going to see the climates throughout the entire year are warm climates. Okay, so that was one of the primary reasons it made sense for me when I read these quotes that I just shared with you, that probably the most divine types of food are fruit, and secondarily, the most divine fruit will be tropical fruit. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of heated debate about fruit because fruit has been demonized, especially by, a lot of doctors out there. And here's the thing, they don't require us to have nutritional classes. Okay, I think I was looking at the numbers, but somewhere around 1 to 5% of medical schools and pharmacy schools require nutritional courses, as they're matriculating through those 4 years. I can tell you, I never took a nutritional course during my graduate years. I took it in undergrad because I was exercise physiology and a chemistry major, so I took it then, but I never had to take it as a healthcare professional during my graduate years. Okay, and I never had to take one, to be able to work at a hospital or to be able to work in a pharmacy. So it's important to understand this, and this is just keeping it real. Your doctors are laymen when it comes to nutrition because they have no education in it, most of them. So it's important to know a lot of our food has been demonized for the sole purpose of miseducation. They just don't understand. Okay, and so instead of understanding the whole picture, and the whole picture is this, the whole picture is the real issue with sugar is not the sugar that you get in fruit. The real issue is the 152 pounds of added sugar you're eating every year, or refined carbohydrates, in the form of refined carbohydrates, sugary beverages, things of that nature. That's the real culprit when it comes to your blood sugar issues. It's not the fruit itself, because fruit comes with fiber. And let me give you a few examples before we move forward. These are just a few fruits that I'm about to go on a fruit fast. My birthday is in about 7 days. And so I'm gonna eat nothing but fruit during that time. And so I'm gonna show you a few of the fruit that grow on the farm. One of them I just randomly got from another farm, but we have sugar apple here. Okay, and despite the fact that this is called sugar apple, this is actually good for diabetes. And in each sugar apple, which we grow on the farm, there's probably 50 trees on the farm. Each sugar apple has about 20 to 40 seeds in it, so it's heavily seeded. We only, ship fruit that are seasonal, so we only have fruit that are seasonal. And so this is sugar apple, and despite the fact that it's called sugar apple, it's actually good for diabetes. Okay, we have bananas that we grow on the farm, and particularly we have burro bananas. And as you'll see, these burro bananas look very different from those big, humongous, monstrosities that you see in the supermarket. Okay, This is about the size of the palm of my hand. Okay, so this is the burro banana. It is not shaped like the conventional banana. You can actually see when you cut this open, you'll see a few black speckles in there where the seeds are. We even have seeded bananas on the farm as well. We have this star apple, which is one of my favorite fruit in the world as well too. So I'll be eating that, seeded. We have mamey. Mamey has a huge seed on the inside. It tastes something in comparison to like a sweet potato, but imagine adding a creamier taste, brown sugar, and butter. And this is what a mamey tastes like. So this got mamey, atamoya, and this is a really good one. Okay, so this is atamoya. These two are in the same family, which is the Annona family. And the Annona family is also the same family with soursop. And mentioning soursop, as I described before in the quote that I gave you, the leaves will be used for the healing of the nation. This is soursop leaf, dehydrated, dried. Okay, soursop leaf is very medicinal for high blood pressure. It's also really good for circulation. And it's also really good if you have issues like diarrhea as well too. So even the leaves on the tree are pretty good. We also have about 300 sapodilla and nesberry trees. And the bark of a nesberry tree is good for dysentery. Okay, and you can even use the leaves as well too. So I'm trying to help you understand, like we have to change our perspective around what is considered food. That's hugely important, all right? So now that we got that out of the way, it's important that you know that as you're making your food, you should be incorporating herbs into them. I incorporate herbs into my smoothies. I incorporate them into my salads. I incorporate it even if I made like a quinoa stir fry, okay? I'm always putting herbs in there, thyme, rosemary, things of that nature. So in your cabinet should be loaded with thyme, oregano, soursop leaves, rosemary, etc. Okay, because those herbs are medicinal. And when you add those herbs into your recipes, now you're adding in healing into your food. Now you're making your food medicine. Now, here's what's important. Herbs don't work unless you do. You cannot just take herbs and think to yourself, I'm going to take this herb, but I'm going to still eat this nutritionally poor and unhealthy diet. Herbs do not work unless you do. So it's important that you know and understand that. So if you're going to keep all of the toxic, poisonous food in your cabinet, in your refrigerator, in your freezer, or you're going out to eat that food, it's important that you know and understand herbs do not work unless you do. So if you have a unhealthy diet, the herbs will not work. Okay, so that's hugely important. So let's get into the 7 herbs that you must have in your medicine cabinet, because that's how your kitchen should be. Your kitchen is your hospital. Your kitchen is your clinic, okay? So that's where all the healing, that's where all the prevention takes place. It takes place in your kitchen. Now, if you're ordering through Uber Eats and eating out all the time, then you're gonna have some problems, okay? But even there, it should be your clinic. It should be your hospital. Okay, that should be your first hospital. That should be your medicine cabinet. So number one must-have herb that you must have in your cabinet is oil of oregano. Now, here's what's important about oil of oregano. You can get oil of oregano or you can get an essential oil of oregano, okay? When you get the essential oil, that's very heavily concentrated, okay? That means that that's not something you want to take by mouth. Okay, it's too concentrated. Okay, if you use oil of oregano, you want to dilute it, and you can dilute it with a carrier oil. Okay, and that carrier oil for me most of the time is going to be coconut oil. Okay, so I'll take 1 part of the oil of oregano and 3 parts of the carrier oil, which for me will be again the coconut oil. Okay, now here's what oil of oregano is good for. It's a natural antibiotic. It's antibacterial and antimicrobial, and it's also good for colds and flus. Okay. Now I'll also take a couple of drops and put it in some hot water like it's tea. Take a couple of drops of the oil of oregano and I'll just drink it like that as well myself. I've also just taken the oil of oregano, but I'll tell you, it is tough. It is tough going down. So use the methods that I mentioned before, and I think that'll be sort of a good entryway for you to use oil of oregano. But those are the things that oil of oregano are good for. Number 2, ginger root. Okay, in Jamaica, I think they say ginger root is good for the youths. Okay, so ginger root is very, very good for us. Now, I know that ginger root isn't particularly an herb per se, but it's so medicinal. It's something that you just gotta have in there. Okay, it's so medicinal in so many ways that for me, I consider it an herb, even though it's not. Okay, so ginger root increases serotonin and dopamine. Now, here's what's dope about that. Serotonin is the happy molecule. Okay, for a lot of people who get depressed, the doctor will put them on a serotonin reuptake inhibitor like Zoloft, okay, to increase serotonin. Well, if you're drinking, ginger root tea every day, then guess what? You're already increasing your serotonin. And not only are you increasing your serotonin, but you're also increasing your dopamine. And dopamine is like that reward sensation that you get. Let's say if you posted something and you got 10,000 likes and you weren't expecting that, and that feeling or sensation that you get, like it feels like a reward, it also increases that as well too. This is why I tell people, not only is food medicine, but our bodies are literally the most amazing pharmacy in the world, okay? All of the things that they're using with drugs, we make them in our bodies. We just have to put the medicine in our body, which is food, proper food that we defined earlier, so that we can produce those, medicinal components in our body, okay? So ginger root, really good for increasing serotonin and also dopamine. It also eases stomach pains, okay? So a lot of you have probably drank some ginger ale, to ease the stomach issue. But here's the thing. Most ginger ale doesn't have any ginger in it, okay? So I highly recommend that you use the ginger root that I'm recommending. And it's also good for nausea and also motion sickness as well too. So if you're gonna be on a boat ride, you're gonna be in a car for a long time, you could just simply make some ginger tea and drink that throughout the ride, and it could help you out a lot with that, okay? Number 3, raspberry leaf tea. And this one, men can use it, but this is particularly very good for women. And here's why. It helps with menstrual cramping. It also eases morning sickness. It's also really good for removing water retention, okay, as well too. And it's also good for pregnancy and childbirth. So, it'll be really good during those times. Considering your doctor has nothing against it, to drink raspberry tea as a great tea during that time as well. And it's loaded with antioxidants that the body needs as well too. So raspberry leaf tea as well. Number 4, and this is one of my favorite herbs, nettle or stinging nettle, okay? Nettle or stinging nettle. Stinging nettle is good for bladder and kidney infections or issues, okay? So you could take stinging nettle tea, and it's very good for that. And what I love about stinging nettle, its roots bury deep into the ground, and the deeper it burrows itself into the soil, it pulls so many minerals out of it, so much nutrition out of it. Okay, so this is why nettle is also loaded with nutrients as well too. So even as you're drinking the tea, is good for that. It's also really good for inflammation as well too. Inflammation in the muscles and the joints as well too. So I drink it for that reason. So usually I'm drinking nettle tea after my workouts. Okay, again, it's good for reloading all of those nutrients, because quite often when we're working out, we're sweating, we're losing a lot of nutrition, a lot of minerals through the sweat. Okay, so I drink the nettle tea, I'm replenishing a lot of those minerals and nutrients, but I'm also reducing inflammation and getting rid of that, a lot of the pain and the recovery, okay, that I need too. So it shortens the recovery period as well too. So, and another thing that stinging nettle is good for is reducing the inflammation and the size of the prostate when you have an enlarged prostate. So it'll be really good for men with that issue in terms of, if you have prostatitis or something to that nature, okay? The next herb, fifth herb, is chamomile, okay, or chamomile, or people pronounce it differently, but chamomile is very good because it's good for digestive issues. It's also good for stress and anxiety, and most importantly, which most people use it for, it improves sleep, okay? So it can help you fall asleep. So if you're having issues with sleep, you can kind of have a cup of chamomile tea right before bed, and that'll help as well too. And then a bonus that I'll add on top of that is lavender, okay? You can actually get lavender spray that on the pillow, and that will help you sleep a little bit better as well too, all right? So that's the little bonus that I added in with the chamomile, okay? And then number six is clove, okay? And I use clove oil. I make sure you get the 100% pure, but I use clove oil when I'm doing oil pulling, okay? I did another video on that, so go check out that video. But essentially what oil pulling is that you take some essential or healthy oils. In this case, I use clove oil, and my carrier oil is gonna be the coconut oil. Okay, so I put a couple of drops of the coconut, a couple of drops of the clove oil inside of coconut oil, and then I swish that around in my mouth for about 2 to 3 minutes. Most of the time, probably about 2 minutes, okay? And that's not only good for being antibacterial, but it's also anti-inflammatory. And a lot of people have inflamed gums, so to help with that, it'll help clean out that unhealthy bacteria. And it's also good for tooth pain as well too. Okay, so if you're having a tooth pain in between going to visit the dentist to take care of it, you can use the clove oil, as I mentioned before, for that tooth pain, and also for just to make sure that your overall dental care is good as well too. And even, if you do this oil pulling pretty consistently, what you'll notice is that your teeth will start to whiten a little bit better too. Okay, and then number 7, and the last one, cayenne pepper. I know that is not particularly an herb, but again, there are some things that have medicinal qualities like herbs, so I would say this is a must-have in the kitchen. And the reason why it's a must-have is when you digest a lot of cayenne pepper, and what you will notice is particularly in Indian cuisine could be a whole lot of spicy, okay? When you think about Indian food, and you say spicy, like I like spicy, when they ask me what spice level I want on my Indian food, I say this much, a very little spicy, okay? Because their tolerance for spice level is up here and mine is about right here. But cayenne pepper is very critical because not only does it increase digestive fluids, okay? It also increases digestive enzymes to help you digest your food even better, okay? So adding spice to your food does that for you, and cayenne pepper can do that. It also helps to reduce blood pressure as well too, because it opens up the blood vessels, okay? And particularly the active ingredient capsaicin, okay? It opens up the blood vessels, gets the blood flowing and circulating, okay? Which means that it also can help to decrease the risk of heart disease. It also decreases inflammation and oxidative stress. What that means is oxidation is rusting, okay? That's you aging. And most of the time it's you aging prematurely. So adding cayenne pepper to your cuisine and even to your teas, I do it with my teas as well too. It can help with aging, help you age gracefully as well too, all right? And then the last thing is it helps to boost circulation. And it also helps to increase the contraction of the heart as well too. And so what I've seen anecdotally and with a lot of people, let's say you're at home and let's say you start to get some chest pain or issues with high blood pressure or something like that. This has often been used as a remedy to save someone on their way to the hospital by taking a dose of cayenne pepper to help save them from a heart attack, okay? So cayenne pepper must be in your medicine cabinet when it comes to, the medicinal herbs that you keep in there for the healing of the nation, which in this case is your body. Thanks for watching this video, but be sure to check the next video out that's right here. But everything I talk about is how do we take a holistic and natural approach to healing other than a man-made approach? And also, how do we prevent dis-ease in the body as well too? Because, they say